Top 10 Misconceptions about the Wild West. The Wild West, a period of American history immortalized by tales of cowboys, outlaws, and gold rushes, is often romanticized in popular culture. While we envision dramatic duels and lawless frontiers, much of what we believe about this era stems from embellished stories and showmen like Buffalo Bill Cody, rather than historical facts. The real Wild West was a complex tapestry of expansion, cultural diversity, and significant historical change, quite different from the myths that have come to define it. In this exploration, we'll debunk the top 10 misconceptions about the Wild West, revealing the genuine narrative behind the legends. Number 1. The first gold rush was not in the West. While the California gold rush of the 1840s is etched in public memory, America's actual first gold rush occurred decades earlier in the East. The year was 1799, in North Carolina, where 12-year-old Conrad Reed made an astonishing discovery: a 17-pound, 8-kilogram, gold nugget in a creek on his family's farm. This colossal find, initially unrecognized for its worth, was used as a doorstop in the Reed household. It was only in 1802, when the Reed family sold the nugget to a Fayetteville jeweler for a meager $3.50, that they realized its true value. Realizing they had been swindled, they swiftly set up mining operations on their creek's banks. By the 1820s, these humble beginnings had burgeoned into full-scale mining in Cabarrus County, employing over 25,000 people in the quest for gold. Number 2. The Alamos' hidden connection to slavery. The famous Battle of the Alamo, often celebrated as a fight for Texan freedom, has a lesser-known yet significant connection to slavery. The crux of the conflict between Mexico and Texas was, in fact, the issue of slavery. Mexico's abolition of slavery in 1829 stood in stark contrast to the practices of American settlers in Texas, who were bringing slaves into the territory. As tensions mounted, Texas settlers, seeking assurance from Stephen Austin, added a clause in their constitution to prohibit any authority from freeing their slaves. When Mexican troops advanced into Texas, part of their mission was to liberate slaves. The rising value of cotton and the desire to secure slavery as a permanent institution were pivotal factors driving Texas's push for independence from Mexico. This struggle culminated in the Alamo and subsequently led to a doubling of the slave population in Texas. Number 3. The rare reality of Wild West bank robberies. Contrary to the thrilling tales spun by Hollywood, bank heists in the Wild West were more the stuff of legend than of everyday life. A historical deep dive into the annals of 15 western states from 1859 to 1900 reveals a surprising fact: there were fewer than 10 confirmed bank robberies, with notable outlaws like Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid responsible for a couple. Most early banks were extensions of existing businesses, often general stores, owned by well-established local figures. These banks, strategically located in the bustling heart of towns and flanked by other businesses, proved difficult targets for would-be robbers. Additionally, the introduction of imposing iron safes turned bank heists into a near-impossible endeavor, debunking the myth of the bank-robbing outlaw as a common Wild West character. Number 4. Harvey House, pioneering women in the West. As the westward expansion chugged along on the rails of progress, a culinary revolution was brewing, led by entrepreneur Fred Harvey. Seizing the opportunity to cater to the throngs of travelers, Harvey established a chain of restaurants known as Harvey House, strategically located at train depots. Initially staffed by male waiters, a dramatic brawl in a New Mexico Harvey House prompted a radical rethink. Harvey made a bold move, replacing his entire male waitstaff with women, a decision that raised more than a few eyebrows at the time. Rumors swirled, unfairly labeling these pioneering women as nothing more than waitresses with questionable morals. However, the efficiency, charm, and professionalism of these first female Harvey House staffers soon won over the hearts and appetites of travelers. This trailblazing move not only transformed the Harvey House into an all-women affair but also helped dismantle the prevalent stigmas, paving the way for greater opportunities for women in the workforce of the American West. Number 5. The fleeting era of the Pony Express. The Pony Express, more formally known as the Central Overland California and Pikes Peak Express, was a marvel of its time, but its glory was as fleeting as the gallop of a horse. In operation for a mere 18 months before succumbing to the rise of the telegraph in October 1861, this mail service was an expensive endeavor, costing around $5 per ounce, catering mainly to businesses and official matters. Riders, often young boys, and sometimes atop sturdy mules, would dash across approximately 20 miles, 32 kilometers, with the mail. Contrary to popular belief, the famed advertisements seeking orphans for this perilous journey across the West likely never existed, as historians have found no contemporaneous evidence of such posters. Number 6. The sunset of the original cowboy. The 1870s heralded the twilight of the classic cowboy, an era brought to a close by a simple yet transformative invention, barbed wire. This innovation changed the landscape of the American West, marking territories with fences and reducing the open ranges that had been the cowboys' domain. The early cowboys, or vaqueros, were more than mere cattle herders, they were a distinct social class. Their origins trace back to 1598, when Don Juan de Oñate embarked on a $1 million venture to populate the American West with herds of cattle and sheep, involving about 7,000 animals. These vaqueros journeyed hundreds of miles to graze their livestock freely. However, with the arrival of the 1870s and the segmentation of the West into private lands, the traditional cowboy lifestyle dwindled. The once free vaqueros had to adapt to a new way of life, as the era of the open range and the original cowboy rode into the sunset. Number 7. The foreign origins of the iconic tumbleweed. In every classic Wild West movie, there's an obligatory scene featuring a lone tumbleweed rolling through a deserted street, an emblem of the desolate frontier. Yet, this symbol of the West isn't native to the region. Tumbleweeds, or Russian thistle, first appeared in the US as stowaways in a shipment of flaxseed to Scotland's South Dakota. Within a mere 15 years, these interlopers had conquered territories from California to Canada. Growing to the size of small cars and capable of producing 250,000 seeds, tumbleweeds quickly became more than a cinematic prop, they were an ecological menace. By 1880, they caught the attention of the Department of Agriculture. These resilient plants, thriving in arid conditions, were known to engulf entire towns, symbolizing not just the Wild West solitude but also the unanticipated consequences of foreign invasions. Number 8. The evolution of the cowboy hat. The iconic cowboy hat, synonymous with Western attire, has origins that might surprise you. John B. Stetson, hailing from a family of hatters and seeking a change of scenery due to tuberculosis, ventured west in the 1860s. In Missouri, he crafted the first iteration of the cowboy hat, known as the Boss of the Plains hat. This original design, quite different from today's popular image, featured a round brim and a smooth, uncreased crown. Made from beaver fur, it was light and waterproof, ideal for the rugged outdoor life of the West. It wasn't until its rise in popularity that the Boss of the Plains began its transformation. Cowboys across different regions started personalizing their hats, adding unique creases and folds, which eventually became a language of their own, signaling the wearer's status, occupation, and origins. Recognizing this trend, Stetson incorporated the 5 most popular styles into his official collection, giving birth to the diverse range of cowboy hats we recognize today. Number 9. The forgotten Civil War Battle of New Mexico. The American Civil War, often portrayed as a conflict between the North and the South, had an unexpected battleground, New Mexico. In 1861, U.S. Army officer Henry Hopkins Sibley turned his back on the Union to join the Confederacy, soon rising to brigadier general. His mission? To claim the lucrative Santa Fe Trail, a vital trade route handling millions in goods, for the Confederacy. Following Texas's secession, Sibley led 2,500 troops into New Mexico, eyeing control of this critical asset. The campaign initially saw success at Glorieta Pass, but it was short-lived. Union forces from Colorado launched a surprise attack on Sibley's base camp. Although casualties were relatively few, they dealt a crippling blow to the Confederate force. This pivotal yet often overlooked battle marked the end of the Confederacy's ambitions in New Mexico, a chapter seldom highlighted in Civil War narratives. Number 10. Revisiting bison hunting by Native Americans. The popular image of Native Americans living in perfect harmony with the bison and using every part of the animal is a romanticized one. Recent research from prestigious institutions like Brown and Princeton universities reveals a more complex reality. Before the settlers' arrival, extensive burning operations were common in the West, clearing vast tracts of forest. Bison hunting practices were similarly large-scale. One technique, known as box burning, involved setting strategic fires around a buffalo herd to guide them into an ambush. Another, the dauntingly named buffalo jump, entailed driving entire herds off cliffs. Hunters would then scour the debris at the base for the best cuts of meat. These methods, though efficient for the times, contrast sharply with the more conservation-minded image often portrayed in modern retellings of Native American history.